Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alexis. As you guys may or may not know, this month is Pride Month and I am a bisexual woman, bisexual slash pansexual, fall in love with a person, not what's in their pants kind of thing. Anyway, I would like to do my own little pride look. This is inspired by Bratterstein, also known as Brittney here on YouTube. She got inspiration from someone else, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like a half face, basically. Elkie, why every time I do a video? I'm gonna do basically like a big butterfly, you know, the butterfly trend that was going around where the people would just do butterflies on their, just on their eyelids. I want to take it a bit further and like use like all this space, which is why I've got my eyebrow flattened down. So yeah, if you're interested in, I'm also going to talk about some of my favorite LGBTQ plus movies that I love, that I've watched as I've grown up and that sort of thing. So if you're interested in seeing me create a butterfly pride look while talking about LGBT plus movies, then keep watching. It's been so long. Shit has gone down in the world. That's all I have to say. And it's a whole thing. Yeah, and I'm still gonna put links down in the description box below for Black Lives Matter as well as LGBTQ plus charities down below. But the first movie I want to talk about is probably one of the first like gay movies I watched. It came on late night on HBO or something like that, and I just remember that I just loved the characters in it. I thought they were just so cute and sweet, and I loved it so much. So the movie's name is Trick. It says the misadventures of two gay men trying to find a place to be alone one night in Manhattan. This is such a super sweet movie. The younger guy, there's basically two men in the movie. One is very young, very inexperienced, very green around the edges, if you want to say. He doesn't really know much. He knows he's gay, but he hasn't really had a homosexual experience. And he meets this male prostitute one night who, basically is like, gonna open up his eyes to the world. I don't have any foundation on. I don't have any eyeshadow base. Nothing. Oh my god, what am I doing? I'm gonna put some... Fuck. I literally don't know what I'm gonna do right now. Eyeshadow base first and foremost. My goodness. Actually, I'm gonna put down some concealer. I'm gonna use my ColourPop No Filter concealer real quick because I'm a drongo and completely forgot how to make up in the 2 weeks that I have not filmed a makeup video. Yeah, the world is on fire right now. The only like really good thing coming out of the whole thing is that, we've got this beautiful Pride Month. There are activists out there still fighting for Black Lives Matter every single day, trying to make a difference, trying to be the change they want to see, and I live for it. I'm so proud of people standing up and saying enough is enough. We will not stand for this any longer. I am so happy people are trying to be on the right side of history right now. So super excited about it. I have grown up very privileged, as I said in my Black Lives Matter video. So I recognize that, I know that. And it's something that I've kind of grappled with as I've gotten older and kind of like learned the ramifications and what that actually means and that sort of thing. So I'm using my P. Louise eyeshadow base and I'm taking that all over. Okay, so back to Trick. Super adorable movie. This kid is just so green and has no idea what he's doing, and he's just like, the whole world is just, it's the cutest like fish out of water kind of movie, and it's so sweet. It really is a very sweet movie. I liked it quite a bit, and anytime it was on HBO and I was alone and could watch it without fear of like my grandmother or my mom coming in, I would watch it. Yeah, it's a super cute little movie. Also, please disregard the mess that is my skin right now. I don't know what the hell I've gotten into or done, but for some reason my skin is just not having it. And by not having it, I mean is like being a real bitch and a half. The next movie I want to talk about is one of my, again, another movie that I saw when I was quite young. It's a Canadian movie. It's called Better Than Chocolate. It's about this, well, let me read it. It's Maggie, 19, works at a lesbian LGBT bookstore. Her mom's getting divorced and has invited herself to stay with Maggie. Maggie hasn't told her she is a lesbian, and her new girlfriend moves in as well. Basically, another fish out of water kind of story. This young girl from a small town moves to the city to like find herself. She ends up renting a house from a sex educator, and that just brings up all kinds of hijinks. So basically the person is going overseas and they're like subletting the house, and this girl Maggie moves in, and she moves into the gay part of town, and she's newly like discovered herself, that sort of thing. Yeah, it's so cute. Such a cute movie, and there's such a beautiful underlying story to it as well. Some stuff happens. There's she works with a transgendered woman who works at the bookstore with her as well. She doesn't understand like what transgender people have to go through and that sort of thing. So there's a huge like overarching learning point in this movie, and I think it's brilliant. I really, really like it. It's a sweet movie. It's easy to watch. Some parts are not as easy to watch, but this is probably the first lesbian movie that I ever saw, and this is when I was like, well, it came out in 99, so I probably saw it early 2000s, maybe even in 1999, but I was just immediately drawn to it, and I just remember having like this aha moment where it was like, I'd always known that I liked girls as well as men or boys, and so I always knew I had a thing for girls, but this movie really kind of woke that up in me and was like, you like girls too. Like, you really like girls too. And so that's how that happened. Super sweet movie. The cast, the girl that plays Maggie is so cute. Her girlfriend, I can't remember for the life of me what her name is. I think it's like Kit or Cat or Kit Kat. Who knows? Let me just double check. Kim. I knew it started with a K. I just couldn't remember what it was. But the chick that plays Kim is like so sweet to Maggie and is just really, really helpful in helping her come to terms with the fact that she is a lesbian, and really like opens her eyes up to the rest of the world and what LGBT people have to go through every day, and how she was kind of able to hide from it because she was from this small town and didn't experience a lot of this. I really hope this pans out the way I want it to. I'm gonna cry if it doesn't. I've had this idea in my head for a while now. I have a thing for butterflies. I have 4 butterfly tattoos. I love butterflies. I love the whole idea of butterflies like signifying rebirth, growth, openness. And there's a quote, and I can't, it's a Drew Barrymore movie, and I can't remember the name of the poem. I can't even remember the name of the movie now. But it's where she's kind of like a mental institution patient, and she gets taken out, and this guy, Chris McDonald, takes her out of this institute, and like they go off on this trip together, and she ends up losing her marbles. But her favorite quote is "Butterflies are free," and so I've always had like that in the back of my head, and that's why I love butterflies as much as I do, is because it just, the whole that saying really resonated with me a lot. I'm gonna try and do a couple of movies that are a little harder hitting, as well as not just, all comedies and fish out of water kind of things. The next movie I want to talk about, my father showed me when I was quite young. It's called And the Band Played On, and it's the story of the discovery of the AIDS epidemic and the political infighting of the scientific community hampering the early fight with it. It stars Matthew Modine, and he plays a scientist who basically they're trying to track down patient 0 at the very beginning of the AIDS crisis. It talks about all the troubles that the government faced as far as like backlash and that sort of thing, and just lack of help that the governments were doing. Yeah, it broke my heart the first time I saw it. It still to this day like gets me. It's an amazingly inspirational story, but there's also a lot of heartache in it, and it's a gut-wrenching movie. If you want to know a bit more about the AIDS epidemic and how they started to kind of piece together what was going on, then I highly, highly, highly recommend And the Band Played On. It is a wonderful, wonderful movie. The acting was spectacular. The cast was brilliant, and it actually featured a person that my dad knew in real life who passed away from AIDS complications. And yeah, when I found that out, that I was like a gut punch, because at that time I'd only ever known one person who had been, two people that I knew of that were HIV positive. One was a man named Xavier. He was my hairdresser. He was actually my mom and my aunt's hairdresser for many, many, many years. And I don't know what it was about Xavier, but I loved him so, so much. He had this crazy fucking long mullet, and it was god awful mullet. It really was. Yeah, he adored me, and I loved him so much. And he was actually a motivational speaker that would go around to high schools all over the country and talk about the AIDS crisis, living with AIDS, how to protect yourself, just AIDS awareness and education. And I remember seeing, several of his videos and stuff like that of him going around and talking to these teenagers about HIV and, the dangers and, of spreading it and how it's contracted, and no, you can't get it from a mosquito bite or a toilet seat kind of thing, like all the propaganda was saying before when the whole AIDS epidemic hit. I loved that man a lot. I really did. He actually ended up taking his own life. This is what I was told, and this is what I was told when I was quite young, so I'm not sure if this is, what actually happened. I was told that his shop got broken into, and he wasn't going to be able to rebuild his shop, and he took his own life. Now, like I said, I don't know if that's 100% accurate or not, but that's what I was told. And it's just, when I found out he was dead, I was quite young, and he was the first person that I knew of that wasn't a family member that had passed away. And so that was pretty devastating for a kid to have to deal with. But, that's just kind of what we have to deal with as humans. You deal with loss and grief and that sort of thing. So it still makes me really sad, and I wonder where he'd be today if he hadn't taken his own life. Okay, on camera that doesn't look terrible. It looks like butt shit up close. Like, I don't even want to take pictures with this. But if you want to watch like an educational movie about like the early days of the AIDS crisis, like I'm talking early days, like they're trying to track down patient zero, early days of the HIV crisis, then definitely give And the Band Played On a good watch. It's not a feel-good movie by any stretch of the imagination. It will leave you gut-wrenched, which is, like I said, I want to talk about some movies that, are really hard-hitting and very, very political and can give you a good idea of what has happened in the past with HIV, AIDS, and the gay and lesbian community, or the LGBT community. The next movie is one of my all-time favorite Robin Williams vehicles. It's the movie with him and Nathan Lane and Hank Azaria and Gene Hackman and Diane Wiest and Ally McBeal, Callista Flockhart. This huge cast of like these huge Hollywood names. It's based on La Cage aux Folles, which I believe I'm pronouncing correctly, which is the birdcage. Basically, there's these two club owners that live in Miami. I'll read you the synopsis. A gay cabaret owner and his drag queen companion agree to put up a false straight front so that their son can introduce them to his fiance's right-wing moralistic parents. So basically, this movie is a hot mess, but fuck, it is so funny. Basically, what happens is Robin Williams is a gay club owner in Miami, and he has a partner who is this overly flamboyant, crazily dramatic partner who is a drag queen in one of those shows. And basically their son, Robin Williams' son, who Nathan Lane helps basically to raise, comes home one day and says that he's met a girl. And so, Robin Williams, being a happy doting father, is all very excited for him, wants to meet the girl, loves the girl, but then finds out that girl's dad is this ultra conservative senator. they try and put up this front that they play straight, basically. And so it's, oh my god, Hank Azaria, so fucking funny in this movie. Does it play up to gay stereotypes? Sure, but it's not making fun of gay people. It's making fun of the situation, if that makes sense. So it's not making a mockery of drag queens and that sort of thing. It's not making a mockery, and it's not taking the piss. It's taking the piss, but it's not being offensive. As far as that's concerned. So basically it's just their hijinks of what is happening, what's happening with this family, and it's so good and so funny. If you haven't seen it, or even the original, I recommend watching both of them. They are just hysterical. You spend like a majority of the movie going, oh god, what's gonna happen? The other one just pissing yourself laughing. Super duper fun movie. This is looking very patchy, and I'm very upset about it because I can't get these fucking eyeshadows to work properly. The next movie is a movie that I want to talk about that I recently saw a couple days ago, and I'm kind of conflicted on whether or not I liked the movie or not, but it's about it's Moonlight, and I want to watch it again because I thought it ended very abruptly, and it didn't end how I thought it was going to end. You know, I grew up in not the best part of town, but certainly not like 5th Ward, 3rd Ward, stuff like that. I did grow up in a very rough part of town. You know, I wasn't around, well, I can't say I wasn't around drugs a lot, because I was. Not a lot of, can't say I wasn't not around violence either. Never mind. So I was in a rough part of town when I was in high school, and it's about this younger African-American kid. It starts off with him being, I want to say he's probably in the 5th to 7th grade, something like that. It's a young African-American man grapples with his identity and sexuality while experiencing the everyday struggles of childhood, adolescence, and burgeoning adulthood. So you have, it follows him through 3 different parts. So you've got Little, then you have Sharon, and then you have the 3rd character whose name is Black. And basically you follow Black through his childhood, his adolescence, high school years, and then you follow him into adulthood. He befriends somehow this drug dealer guy, and because Black didn't have a father growing up, he basically kind of like almost adopted this guy as his dad. And then so it kind of goes through their relationship at the beginning, and then it goes into Sharon's high school years and like the trials and tribulations of going through that and dealing with all that. And then you have Black, who has grown up, who has become a drug dealer himself, and he is basically like grappling with the fact that he's, you know, this big Billy badass, and he is also a homosexual. And so he, you know, is, oh, this looks like shit balls. Oh, this looks like shit. I don't like this. I'm just gonna go with it. But anyway, you follow this guy through his life, and you go through, like I said, very young to middle teens, and then to his early to mid 20s, I would say. It's a really interesting movie. There were a couple parts where, like, the woman that plays Black's mom is Naomi Harris. First time I saw her was in 28 Weeks Later, and she was badass. But anyway, yeah, Naomi Harris does a spectacular job with this movie. It's just, she kills it. Where did I leave off? Sorry, I went and made a cup of coffee because I've been up, I went to bed after 1 o'clock last night and woke up this morning at 6 o'clock because my back was hurting so bad that I couldn't sleep anymore. So yeah, I've had probably five cups of coffee already, and I'm just barely hanging on by a thread at the moment, I'm not gonna lie. But anyway, Moonlight, actually I really liked it. It was one of those movies when it got to the end where I was like, oh, that's it? Well, what happens next? Like, I want to know. So it was one of those, I don't know how I feel about it. Like, I didn't hate it, for sure. Did not hate it. Loved it. Thought it had a great storyline. The characters were really engaging. The actors were really, really great. Mahershala Ali was really, really great. Naomi Harris, like I said already before, she brilliant. frack, what's her name? Janelle Monáe is in it as well, and oh, I just wish she'd give me a hug. I just think she's just the bee's knees. I certainly wouldn't say it's a joyful movie. There are moments of levity in it where you're like, oh, that's sweet, or oh, that's nice, but it's not an easy movie to watch. And again, it kind of left me conflicted. Like, I wanted to know more about him. I wanted to see more of his story. I was left wanting more. And that's not a negative, okay? I was really invested in Black's journey, and really wanted to see, like, what happened. Alright, so the next movie is another heavy hitter. It's called Boys Don't Cry. It's about the story of Brandon Teena, who was a transgendered boy who moved away from his hometown and befriended a bunch of young adults in this town, and he was transgendered and was closeted. He was male passing. He presented as a male, and basically what happened is the people that he was hanging out with found out that he was transgender, and they killed him. And it's the story leading up to his death and what happened, or as much as anybody could glean from the people in Brandon's life. And they go into his subsequent murder, which is, like I said, a very heavy topic. It is not an easy movie to watch. It has a beautiful story to it. The way the story is told, Hilary Swank is divine in this movie. This is probably one of her best performances ever. This movie is a gut punch movie. It's not an easy movie to watch by any means. It's one that's gonna stick with you. If you haven't heard of Brandon Teena, I would seriously look up his story to find out more about what actually happened to him, how he was persecuted by this group of, for lack of better terms, redneck idiots. But yeah, so definitely take a look at that. Hard-hitting movie, totally hard-hitting movie, but it's a story that needs to be told, and it's a story that needs to be seen. It's a story that needs to be remembered. Just gonna finish off the rest of my face while I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna map out my outlines and stuff like that. So I'm gonna finish off the rest of my face real quick, and then we'll come back. Alright, wings are sisters, not twins, but that's a very severe wing, but it is what it is. It is whatever. It's no big deal. I haven't put mascara on this eye. I'm about to do a bunch of drawing on my face, so I will try and talk through a lot of the oh my god, words are failing me. I will try and talk through a lot of what I'm doing, but I only have a few more movies to talk about, so hopefully I don't talk so much that I run out of movies to talk about. But I need to draw, and this is the part that is stressing me out. Alright, let me outline this real quick, and then we'll come back as I'm drawing in little spots and stuff like that. And we could talk about the other few movies that I wanted to discuss. Oof. Oh man, that just caused me some anxiety. Big time. So, the next movie I want to talk about is Philadelphia. If you have not seen a movie about if you have not seen the movie Philadelphia, you are doing yourself a huge disservice. It's got Tom Hanks as well as Denzel Washington. They're the two main characters. Antonio Banderas is in it. This is before he was a huge name in Hollywood. And it's about a lawyer who is HIV positive and then converts into AIDS. And he starts showing signs, as in, like, he gets the brown spots on his skin. I can't remember what they're called. But he starts presenting with symptoms of AIDS. And this is right at the height of the AIDS crisis. And basically he is fired from his position at the law firm. And so he decides that he is going to take his old employers to court for wrongful termination. And it is a beautiful love story. It is a gut-wrenching portrayal of what really happened to people who were HIV and AIDS positive in the late 80s, early 90s. And basically, he takes these guys to task. And Denzel Washington plays a bit of a bigot in the movie. He's a family man. He's straight, whereas Tom Hanks's character is a very open homosexual, and lives very openly as far as that is concerned. And it's a tough movie to watch. Has to be probably one of my all-time favorite Tom Hanks performances. He knocked it out of the park. I mean, absolutely killed it. Just so spectacular. Beautiful storyline. Heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking, but totally worth watching. The next movie I want to talk about, now this is a fun little like heister kind of a movie. I absolutely loved this movie. It was my introduction to Nina Gershon, who I have such a huge crush on. She is just, she's just something about her just tickles my fancy. She's a stunning woman. She's actually a really great actress too. But she has recently done Brooklyn Nine-Nine. She's been in heaps of movies. She was in Face Off, Bound, which was done by the Wachowskis. It's got Jennifer Tilly in it. What's his face? Bloody hell, the crazy Italian guy. Joe, what is it? Joe Pantoliano. I'm not sure where my computer cut me off. Bound, anyway, she's, not Nina. Jennifer Tilly's character is in love or is living with this wise guy, and she's trying to like get away from him, and she falls for Gina Gershon's character, who's this contractor who's coming to renovate an apartment, and they end up falling for each other. It becomes like this who's gonna win cat and mouse kind of thing. It's really fun movie. Definitely would suggest watching it. It's actually got lots of big names in the movie. I don't know if that was necessary. Now I'm gonna have to draw two of them. Here we go. That's a bit better. Yeah. Ooh, I like this. I like the way this has turned out. Woo woo. Yay. I've managed to get fucking liquid eyeliner like all over my fingers and hands. It's disgusting. But anyway, yeah. So Bound. Super fun, like heister kind of movie. Definitely made me fall in love with Gina Gershon. Made me have a really big appreciation for Jennifer Tilly. And it's a fun movie. So it says, tough ex-con Corky and her lover Violet concoct a scheme to steal millions of stashed mob money and pin the blame on Violet's crooked boyfriend Caesar. And so this one was made in 1996. Brilliant movie. So much fun. I wish I actually owned it. I don't, which is really sad because I would watch the shit out of that right now. But I keep having this problem. I come up with like these movies that I want to watch and fucking get to them and I'm like, I really want to watch it. And then I don't own it. And so I'm just kind of stuck going, I really miss watching that movie. But, yeah, so basically this is my Pride look. How do you like it? What do you think? So basically that's it. That's my little LGBT plus movies that I really like to watch, that have hit me in that have hit me in my heart in certain instances. Other ones that just make me laugh and have a good time and feel good. Unfortunately, I feel like with the LGBT plus community, we don't have a lot of movies that represent us in a funny way. Which is why I tried to introduce funnier style, maybe even black comedy style movies. For instance, Bound, I would say is like a black comedy / romance thriller. I wouldn't call it necessarily a crime movie, but like Philadelphia, Boys Don't Cry, and The Band Played On. Those are really hard-hitting movies. But they show what has happened in our past. The another documentary to watch is Paris is Burning. That one is really interesting. It's about the pageant culture, and how that started up. And then there's also the Life and Times of Martha P. Johnson, I think is what it's called, where it talks about Stonewall and what happened there. One of the drag queens that was the one that cast the first stone, basically. Like what happened, they talked to other drag queens from around that same time. And yeah, that one's also really heavy hitting, but it gives you so much history. It gives you a nice little history lesson, and yeah, it's heartbreaking what has happened to a lot of these queens, but it's necessary to know about. I feel like we need to know more about our history, and we need to investigate it more. And I feel like more films need to be made about LGBTQAI plus people, and we need more representation. I really feel like, unfortunately, like transgendered people aren't cast in transgendered roles, which really drives me crazy. You know, it's still kind of a taboo thing to be out in the world and just kind of, you know, be your true self. So until that day comes, just keep fighting the good fight, educating yourself, educating others around you, and making sure that you are staying safe. That also being said, I will be leaving information about Black Lives Matter in my box because it is Juneteenth, and that is a very important time for Black and African Americans living in America. Duh. But yeah, so I wanted to make mentions about Juneteenth, Black Lives Matter, Trans Lives Matter, Gay Lives Matter, Lesbian Lives Matter, LGBT Lives Matter. So yeah, I hope you like this video. I hope you learned something. If you haven't seen these movies, definitely give them a watch. If you have, let me know what you think about them in the comments down below. And I will see you guys soon. Bye.